Hey everybody, what's going on? It's Jim. Hope you guys are having a great day. So today our topic I want to talk to you guys about, I get a lot of requests for this, is okay, if you're planning on doing a speech and you know a speech is coming up, we can go through all the different steps to take to make sure that that speech goes well. But what do you do if you have an unplanned speaking request, or as we like to call them, oh fuck moments? So a lot of times this happens at work when you're just sitting in a meeting and there might be a few people in there, it could be a lot of people in there, and someone says, "Hey Jim, what do you think about XYZ?" So we're going to talk a little bit about that today because I think planning for unplanned speaking requests can be as important as really understanding what to do when you're faced with the speech. So first and foremost, I'm going to go through some things for you to do when you have an unplanned speaking request. Again, the very first thing to do is to think like a chef. So if you've ever watched The Bear, a TV show, which is incredibly stressful but really good, one thing you'll notice is that chefs are always able to control a chaotic environment by being prepared and by having a plan. They make a shitload of lists and they use them to handle themselves when things start to spiral out of control. And fighter pilots, Navy SEALs, football teams, they all do the same thing. They use lists and they prepare before something happens, or something could potentially happen. So just know that going into a meeting, be prepared to be called on, be prepared to speak in front of the group. So that's the first thing. The second thing is to control your breathing. It's very common when you're called on, start breathing really shallow, like having your breath go shallow, right? And then you start because you're freaking out. So the very first thing to do is to control your breathing. Before you say anything, just take a quick, deep breath, hold it as long as you can. That can really go a long way to slowing down and kind of controlling your anxiety. Now, if you're in a meeting, number three thing to do, if you're in a meeting, is to figure out exactly what you're being asked. So, what are you actually being asked by the person who called on you? And this seems like a simple thing, but by thinking about what you're being asked, it starts involving your logical problem solving brain. So you can keep the anxiety stress monster inside of you down. Know exactly what you're being asked before you say anything. A lot of times we rush to say something, and then, a lot of times people get halfway through it and realize, oh shit, like I don't even know if I'm answering the question I was asked. Now I'm realizing, that I might sound like a complete idiot. So find out exactly what you're being asked. The number four thing to do is if you're not 100% sure what you're being asked, then repeat the question back to make sure you're answering the right question. I sound like Daffy Duck there for saying the white. Here's the thing. It's 7:30 in the morning on a Friday, and I had this thought when I was driving into work because it's so cold. I was like, I really want to record this video because I was all excited. So my apologies if I, as a speaking coach, am not coming across correctly. Anyway, number four, repeat the question. If you're not 100% clear on what you're being asked, repeat the question. You know, I think we've all been in meetings and group situations when someone is asked to speak or comment on something and they go on a really long tirade and they answer the wrong freaking question, which wastes everybody's time. It's really tough to watch that. It's like watching a car crash. So don't do that. If you don't know what you're being asked, make sure that you repeat the question. The number five thing to do is to consider who is asking you, right? So there's a huge difference between a work colleague asking you to confirm what they're saying, or and the company president asking you for input on a specific, very sensitive topic, right? A work colleague, it can be really quick and painless, but if president of your company is asking you, or your boss's boss's boss is asking you, it can be a make or break moment in the eyes of that person and your career. They could be offering you a chance to impress her, which obviously leads to career advancement, untold riches, possibly Super Bowl tickets, whatever you can. So really think about who's asking. I think that's something that we all skip on. Is like, really, like, who's asking me this question? The number seven thing to do is to be as confident as you can. Deliver your points with as much confidence as you can muster. Look, you don't need to be confident for the entire meeting. You just need to be confident for those 1 to 2 minutes when you're asked to comment on something or asked to talk about something. So try to ramp up your confidence, kind of dial in your on-demand confidence when you're being asked. Number eight is I want you to expect, if we take that flying analogy a little further, expect turbulence. Expect that no matter what you say, you are going to get follow-up questions and objections. Um, and again, this is where I see people fail the most is they nail the first pieces of this. And then when they get a follow-up question or objection, they're completely surprised and completely thrown up. And almost all follow-up questions and objections fall into three categories. People who generally want to talk more because they found what you said to be interesting, people who want to hear themselves talk, and then people who want to prove you wrong to make themselves look better. So you want to engage with the first and keep your responses really short with the second too. Number 9 thing to do is to be able to handle any freakouts that you go through. So if you find yourself starting to freak out while you're talking, common advice is to pause, take a deep breath, and if that works for you, fantastic. For me, that works for me half the time. What I've talked about in another video is just tensing different parts of my body that other people can't see while I'm doing it. That tends to relax. And I think these tend to work because they start getting your reptilian lizard brain out of fight or flight mode and get you back into what you're doing. So anyway, these are some of the things that you want to do when you are asked to speak in public. Again, the first few, like 2 through 6, they force the logical side of your brain to take over. And when that side is working, it's really harder for the anxiety stress monster to take over. Just a quick story about me. Like when I used to suffer panic attacks a while ago, I would do multiplication tables in my head when the panic attacks came on, something a therapist told me about. Um, and I think it worked because my brain couldn't function on two different things. So if I was completely freaking out and I just started doing the seven multiplication table, and I would go 7 times 1, 7, 7 times 2, 14, 7 times 3, 21, like 7 times 4, 28. It takes a lot of thought, and maybe because I'm not super great at math, it was really helpful for me because it really forced my logical brain to take over. And that's one thing you want to do if you start freaking out, is we want to get your logical brain to stop focusing on the anxiety and start focusing on something else. So anyway, I hope this has been helpful, and we'll have more lessons soon. Talk to you soon. Thanks.